Hello everybody, and welcome to Neuchâtel International Fantastic Film Festival, 22nd edition, and for the official kickoff of the Imaging the Future Symposium. It's one of the biggest part of our programmation. It's the symposium that thematizes and explores the interaction between cinema, new technologies, image, and digital innovation. And I'm very, very happy to introduce this first panel because it's something that we've been wanting to do for a while. The animation for grown-ups, which means that animation is often linked to children, and we are very happy to be able to showcase some really, really wonderful work of animation for adults, which doesn't always mean erotic, because sometimes people are like, what are you talking about? It can be erotic, but it can be everything. It can be sci-fi, like the wonderful white plastic sky that we have that we chose to showcase in the international competition this year. And we have the two directors that are going to be in the panel, Tibor Banowski and Tarolta Szabo, that are here today to talk about their work, and we're very happy to be able to hear them. I just want to say that in the realm of adult animation, Katsui Toishi, who is a very amazing Japanese artistic director, is going to be here in this same theater at 5:30 to talk about his work overall, because he doesn't do only animation but also about animation. So I'm going to leave the floor to Chloé Hofmann, our wonderful moderator, who's going to introduce the other guest. And please enjoy and welcome again. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Pierre. Thank you and welcome to this discussion we entitled Animation for Grownups, just like Pierre said. Today we are very happy to have with us Tibor Banowski and Tarolta Szabo. Did I pronounce it right? More or less, okay. They both come from Hungary and they are working in the film industry they've been working in the film industry for more than 15 years. And they co-directed the White Plastic Sky that you will be able to see here at the NIFFF tomorrow, I think, at 5, and also on Thursday at 2 p.m. So, welcome and thank you for being here. And we also have with us Anja Kofmel, who's a Swiss director and animator. You study animation at the Lucerne University of Applied Science and Arts some years ago. And you made 4 animated shorts and 1 feature length, I think, and we will talk about it. And the feature length is an adult animation film, which is called Chris the Swiss, which was released in 2018. And you are currently preparing a new movie, and you will tell us more about it. So thank you, Anja, for being here and welcome. So today we're going to discuss how the animation filmscape is evolving and what is the place of animation in this for grown-ups in this filmscape. But perhaps before we get to the heart of the matter, could you tell us what was your favorite animated film when you were a kid? Anja, maybe?
One of the first films even that I saw was Jungle Book. So,
Jungle Book.
Yes. And of course then it was my favorite one because I didn't see much more. We didn't have TV, and so.
So you saw it at the theater?
Yes, I saw it in cinema.
And you, Tibor?
I remember very vividly because at that time, when I was in elementary school, the people didn't know there is animation for grown-ups, so they took the children for everything which was animated. And we went to see the Time Masters, which is a French animated film from René Laloux, because they also did all the production in Hungary, and it's a sci-fi movie with giant insects and who kind of swallow the brain of a child, and so it was kind of it was a shocking experience, and I think I never got out of it.
Yeah,
Yes, I think this was a generational thing for us. So this film burned into our brain, I think, in Hungary. And the animation industry was very strong at that time in Hungary. So there were many Hungarian shorts, like series in the television. So we grew up all with this, and we had a lot of children or adult features as well back then.
But one of the reasons why we tend to link animation and childhood is because of Disney movies and because of animation we can see on TV, like on Sunday mornings. But in fact, animation has always been an art for grown-ups, as you said. But historically, animated films for grown-ups have tended to be short films. However, for about maybe 20 years now, I think, there is a kind of mutation going on with more and more feature-length animated films for grown-ups being produced, at least in Europe. And before White Plastic Sky, both of you produced some shorts, two shorts, the Les Conquérants and The Leftovers. Was it obvious for you to make short films for grown-ups?
I think it's well, it wasn't obvious. I mean, I think when we started to make animated films, it's just a tool to express something. It wasn't a conscious thing that we decided not to do animation for children or family or adults. We like this kind of films. I mean, we make films for adults because that's the kind of film we want to do, and the animation is a perfect medium for us to make these films.
I think that was an amazing moment when Persepolis and Waltzit Bashir was made, because it was, for me, it was very a revelation to watch those movies, to see how can speak about very, very serious things about people's lives. So it was, for me, a very strong discovery. And it was a thing which gave me more strength to try to move toward feature films.
Yeah, for me as well, Waltz with Bashir was a turning point, because at that time I was still studying, and I had kind of a crisis with animation, because I thought, okay, the topics I want to tell, they are not really for animation, maybe. I was a bit on one track, I don't know. I was a bit blocked in my mind. And then I saw a Waltz with Bashir, which is really, and it worked in cinemas as well. People liked this movie and they went to the cinema to see it. So for me, it was really a turning point as well.
And just like Waltz with Bashir, Chris de Suisse is on animated documentaries, and there are more and more animated documentaries. Is there something about documentaries that make it easiest to sell on animation movies, because it's a genre that is considered more serious than animation, which is maybe linked to childhood, and that maybe sometimes we tend to take it less seriously?
Sorry, I didn't quite get the question.
Did you choose to make the animated documentary to maybe sell it best, or was it something behind?
For me, the reason why I made it animated documentary was also, like you said, I had a story and I was looking for the best means to tell this story. And that's why I've chosen also a combination between documentary and animation, because it fitted to the content.
Yes, but before you directed Chris de Suisse, you also directed a short one, short movie also about your cousin. Maybe you can tell us more about Chris de Suisse and the story of your cousin.
Yes, Chris de Suisse is a story of my cousin who during the 90s went as a war journalist to the Yugoslav war. And then he kind of disappeared. We as family, we did not know where he is. And then we learned that he died at the front line, wearing a uniform. And then step by step, we discovered that he joined a mercenary group in Yugoslavia, in Croatia actually, who was established by a Spanish reporter. And it was a mercenary group for mainly Spanish people, French, and English people. And there were a lot of rumors around the financement of this brigade. And actually the film is my research 20 years later. And I was trying to find out what happened to my cousin and what was going on with this troop.
And it's a hybrid film then?
It is hybrid, yeah. We have like the past, which, I mean, the starting point actually is the point of view of me as a small girl, which is in animation. And then we have another storyline, which is my research now, which is live action, and it's intertwined. Is that the word? Yeah. Live action and animation is intertwined. And of course, when it comes to topics like war or also very subjective perception, animation is very strong because you can find symbolic images to express, for example, the war or the evil. In my case, I've chosen a swarm of insects to show the evil. And this is only possible in animation, and that's why I've chosen to have part of.
Yes, and you've chosen quite a dark visual aesthetic, right?
Yes, I've decided to do the animated part in black and white. First of all, because I thought it went well with the topic of memories, of fading memories. And of course, also with the topic of war, because black and white has something very clear but harsh at the same time. It can be very brutal in the imagery.
And you also made a hybrid film with white plastic sky. Why did you choose? Maybe can you tell us about the technique you choose to use and why you choose it?
Well, we used rotoscopy. And we kind of mixed rotoscopy characters with 3D and 2D backgrounds. We have chosen rotoscopy because when we started the film, we kind of imagined that it needs, because of the story, needs quite a detailed emotions for the characters, and we could only achieve that with real actors. Also, we saw the film with this technique, and also because animation is always in the limit of the budget, or in the kind of the budget always kind of close what the imagination can be. And this film started as a really, really low budget film. It's a kind of a minimal budget film, which was impossible to. I don't know. At the beginning, it was impossible to just imagine how we will finish the film, and this technique would give us the best result what we could achieve.
And there is also something very realistic about rotoscopy. Did you maybe choose it because you would imagine it would fit maybe a wild audience, or?
Yeah, it's always a question that the adult animation how can kind of break out from the animation audience, because what we usually see that that sometimes these films have a limitation of the animation lovers and the animation festivals, and the wider audience doesn't know the wider audience don't know the films. I think it's the Waltz with Bashi is a perfect example, because I heard so many times from animation people how badly done the film, because it's also a very a cheap production. I mean. But actually, it's such a strong film. It's an amazingly strong direction, and the normal audience didn't really care, because they see the film, they see the story, and they don't care about they don't care about the quality of the animation if the story is good. And I think that's a big fight for adult animation, that how we can reach the audience.
And did you write the screenplay for White Plastic Sky? Did you write it yourself?
Yes, we write it together with Tibor. During the writing process, we worked also with a dramaturgist as well, and we had some other meetings, like we had a mentor for the writing process. So we were working on the script like for 1 year, and it was a very, very exciting process to discover what we want to tell with this story, how we can tell this, and we rewrite the script many times. So it was really, really a good process for us that we had this time to work on that seriously.
And you said it was a kind of low-budget film at first, but how did it go to move from short film to a long film? What was the main challenge for you, except maybe with the budget stuff? Did you add a bigger team? What did you learn?
I think the first thing to be able to be able to reach that stage that people believe that you are able to make a feature. Because in fiction films, I think it's a more usual thing that people are making shorts, and after that point they are making a feature. But in animation, it's not so. You can have a fantastic career as a short film director, and many people are doing this all their life. But to make this step to feature film, it's, I think, much more harder in animation.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think also because the processes are really different. If you're doing a short film, the pipelines are different than for me, animation sometimes is like a Titanic, especially a feature-length animation, because you take decisions and you cannot quickly switch, because there is so much work and so much money behind it. So there's also a high risk, and the pipelines need to be very well organized. So I think that's the difference towards feature films, that the step is really much larger from short to feature length.
Yeah, but we were very naive at the beginning, because we did short films and they were like, okay, 10 minutes. So now we make a 90 minutes film. So it will be 9 times longer and maybe 9 times, I don't know, a bit harder. But no, it's like exceptionally different. Everything is different. The time, the length, the amount of work, and especially, I think we talk about still feature films, but we talk about kind of a low-budget films because we are making animation for grown-ups, so it's not like a super high budget. And then, because it's a low-budget film, you have to do a lot of things yourself, and that's, it's something we never experienced in short films. This kind of work.
So you learn to be a Swiss knife.
Sorry?
You learn to be a Swiss knife, like the.
It's a knife, like the Swiss Army knife, where you have different.
And maybe one other thing, that when you are making a short, you have much more freedom. But when you you are working on a feature film, there are much more people who have opinions about the film, whom you have to discuss many aspects of the film, and especially if you have a co-producer, then can make things more complicated and sometimes difficult. So it's always a fight, I think, on many aspects of the work.
And did you work with young animators, or did you animate the movie yourself?
No, we worked with animators.
So, and is it a challenge to translate to people you work with what you have in mind? How does it work?
Well, rotoscopy is a peculiar technique because it doesn't require a normal traditional animator knowledge, because you don't animate the characters from zero, from nothing. You know, you have already the shot material, and you have to. We didn't use any kind of software to redraw them, so it's all made by hand. So for that you have to have very skilled anatomy drawings and drawing skill. But it's a really monotone work, a really laboring work. So there are people who really fit for that and was born for this kind of work, and there are many who not. So it was actually it's like a casting process, you know. I think we tested 600 people for the work, and I think at the end, I think 60 worked on the film, but there were people who, you know, left the project after one scene because it was just so difficult and hard for them. But the one who remained, they were excellent for the job.
And you, Anja, did you work with some animators for Chris de Suisse?
Yeah, I also worked with a team of animators. In our case, it was a bit the opposite, because a huge part was also this surrealistic animation, which we needed to find a formula, a solution for how we can do it. So it was actually quite a creative animation job. So the opposite of yours, but it was also difficult to get the team together. Once you have them, you kind of develop a language, and they realize what you want. As long as you work together, you kind of have a language.
But how much freedom do you give to your team, or did you give to your team?
Yeah, not so much. No, I mean, I needed them to develop the style. No, it's wrong if I say not so much, but in the end, the director needs to decide in which direction it goes, and it's the only person who has the full image in mind, the full film in mind, because what is specific for animation is that actually you only see in the end how it looks like, because you have a lot of layers and pieces, which sometimes the animation artists, they only have like their scene and they don't have the greater picture. So it's very important to have a director, I mean.
It's not a democracy. Filmmaking is not a democracy.
So did you learn a kind of a new job by being a feature-length director?
I think we learned many new things during this production. I think we did things we never did before. So I think maybe working with actors, we worked in 1 hour short with people. We had live action. It was a pixelation, so it wasn't a live action. But I think one of the most interesting part was the shooting, to work with the actors, because it was very, very a challenging thing for us, and it was very fantastic how they focused on this work and how much they could level the whole film with their work.
And how did it went between the two of you? Because there are many couples or duos in the animation work, like Alexandra Alexeyev and Claire Parker, and John Allas and Joy Batchelor. How did you work together? Is there some stuff you don't want to do and you leave it to the other, or?
We discuss everything and we do everything together, and although we seem quite calm now, but in the in the process it's not always the case. I mean, we are discussing a lot and arguing a lot about and fighting for the best idea. But what we know really well, that we serve a higher ego, which is much bigger than our ego. This is the film's ego, and we know it doesn't matter where the best idea comes. If it serves the film, then that will be in the film. And also, we believe that every idea is actually a kind of you build an idea. It's never like just from nothing you have the best idea. You start with something, and even if you have a question why something doesn't work, that's a part of the idea, because then you find the problem, and so it's a lot of dialogue and discussion between us, a lot of fight as well. But we survived.
And have you ever worked with someone or wanted to work with someone?
Not yet, but I wish to. I think it's very precious to have somebody with whom you can work and who shares the idea of this bigger ego. I really like this idea, and it's true, but it's difficult to find. Especially when it comes to those fights, but it can only help the project if both are really willing to put their ego behind and give it to the project.
And before you said, Charlotte, that what was very hard was to convince the producer to produce an animated film for grown-ups. How did you do that?
We were dreaming to make an animation film. I think we started thinking about it more than 15 years ago. So it was a long way. We were trying to find opportunities to somehow start a project for years. And after that, in 2015, the Hungarian Film Fund started a new program. It's called Incubator Program for first-time filmmakers in live-action, documentary, and animation. And that was this small opening of a door where we could start. And because it was a very small money, we could get this green light. And after that, during the production, we applied for funding in Slovakia with a Slovakian producer. And after that, it was we did get more fund from Hungary, because they saw more possibility in this project, so they removed us from this incubator program. So we had a little bit more money from Hungary after that, and because we were an European co-production, we could apply for a rematch. So it was how we just convinced people and funds from step by step to have bigger budget for us. So that was, I think, the hard part, because we never knew how much money we have and how we will finish the film. And we didn't know if the film will be on the same level when we have to end the project.
But we are in Europe, so fortunately we have in all Europe, the culture is somehow state-funded or mostly state-funded, and it's a very privileged thing that that filmmaking is not a business. is not just a business thing. So we can make films which will never get even, and because I think when you step out from this kind of filmmaking system and you have an animation project for grown-ups, that will be very, very difficult if a producer will ask, but how many people will watch this film and whether it will get back the money. So you know, in a way that producing these kind of films in Europe is amazing.
But I've read that in Hungary there used to be a very big animation studio during the 70s and the 80s, which closed in 2015. Is there now some studio that has replaced it, or how is the situation in Hungary for animation movie?
Yeah, it was a state. It was a state studio which produced a lot of work at that time. Mostly because, you know, the communist regime believed that animation is something we can show the world how we are or what we are doing. And so they put a lot of money into animation, and actually we produced a lot of exciting work at that time. But when the regime changed, that, you know, the studios kind of, disappeared. There are now some new studio, they're trying to survive, but now we are living, unfortunately, in a very, very shitty political system, and everything become even worse than it was in the communist regime. So we don't know what the future will bring.
And so what about Switzerland? I think there are more and more feature lengths that are being produced for the last 20 years, maybe. Can you?
Well, I think for the last 20 years it was like 4 feature lengths, so it's not that much. I think the landscape is more really focused on short films. But now there are several feature length and series in development, so let's see how we can produce them, because that's a huge question. We don't really have a lot of talents who are used to make feature-length films. We have a lot of talents, but no industry, so they cannot train their skills.
But do they have to go abroad to learn then?
I think in Switzerland, in the last years, much changed. So it is better than 15 or 20 years ago. But if you are leaving school and you're very talented, you often go to London or to Los Angeles, to the big studios, because there is more opportunity and more money, of course. But now what I think is interesting, I mean, it's streamers. I mean, it's kind of destroying our industry, yes, but I think it's also an opportunity because it gives access to adult animation, maybe, because you have series like from Netflix, you have a lot of series for adults which are animation and which are watched. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm really passionate in cinema and I have a bleeding heart when I see that everybody's watching his movies on a cell phone.
But would you work for Netflix?
That's a difficult question, and I think 2 years ago I would say yes immediately, but they have a difficult policy as far as I heard. I never worked with them, but I have friends that worked with them. And sometimes they are shortening a budget in a running project, and that destroys work of years from a whole team. So they have a different policy. They don't have this fund idea to support culture, but they have this money idea, how many people will watch it, and if it doesn't work, or if they have the impression that a running production is not working, they're just cutting the whole project.
And here in Switzerland, television gives some money for animation movies. What is the part of the money they give? What is the role of television?
It's still a very important role to produce. The Swiss television gives money. It works as a co-producer, or it buys projects, but this is less than it was in earlier years. But of course, it's a huge part of the whole production structure in Switzerland. And for adult animation, it's in Switzerland. You always need to go into co-production. So, as you said before, that turns a project into a difficult odyssey. And there is no other way to produce.
So for Chris de Suisse, it was a co-production. You shoot it in Croatia, right?
Yes, it was a co-production. Of course, Switzerland was the main producer. Then we had Croatia as a co-producer, Germany and Finland as co-producers. And we established this animation studio in Zagreb to produce the drawings.
But then you have to like move the studio. You couldn't keep it.
Yes, we, because of the issue or because of the topic of the film, we all of a sudden, because of changement of the regime, or not the regime, but the political situation, we all of a sudden were not so popular anymore, and we needed to close the studio. Because it was obvious that for a certain time we would not be able to get money for new projects. So yeah, I went back to Switzerland.
And now you're working on something new.
Yeah, I came back from Croatia and Germany and established a studio in Zurich. And we are mainly producing shorts at this point because it's easier to start with. And we are now developing my new project, which is an adaptation of a Paul Auster's book. Yes.
And it will be with animation?
It will be animation and Super 8 combined.
Okay. And do you have a producer?
For the development, it's our studio. But we have partners which we will proceed with because it's a suicidal mission if you produce and direct and so on. It's just too much.
Okay. And you are, Tibor and Charlotte, are you working on something new?
We finished White Plastic Sky last year, at the end of last year. So we had a little time to have a little break, but yes, we started to thinking about different ideas, but we don't know at the moment how we will make a next movie. So the subject of the story will depend from the possibilities we can find.
Yeah, we try to develop something which we can totally produce it out of the system. Because, White Plastic Sky started 7 years ago. It was a very different film fund system in Hungary. And now we reached a point where we just don't want to be part of that system anymore. And so we would like to kind of go back and be really independent, which we don't know how it will happen. And how to produce and make a very, very independent animated feature, which is a kind of a minimalistic feature film. That's what the question is now for us.
And will White Plastic Sky be released in a theater? Have you found a distributors in France, or because I know it was in Annecy at the beginning of the month?
Yeah, it was premiered in Berlin. It has a distributor, a world sales distributor, Films Boutique, which is a German-French company, and yes, they sold to France, so it will come out in France maybe later this year or the beginning of next year. It will be dubbed with French actors, so it will be interesting to hear that. And yeah, they sold in many countries already, and it's in a festival tour now.
So it will be seen.
Yeah.
Yes, it will. Maybe we can open the questions to the room.
Maybe I start first.
Yes.
You talk about rotoscopy technique, but I have difficulties to imagine what it is like. Could you just explain a bit more how it works and what is specific to it?
Rotoscopy is an animation technique where actually you shoot people usually with like a real camera, and then you have that real footage and you draw it over somehow in some style. I think the most well-known rotoscopy film is Scanner Darkly from John Linklater, if anybody knows, with Keanu Reeves and a lot of famous people, and then redraw them frame by frame or whatever.
Is there another question in the audience? No questions. Do I have more questions?
I do have one more.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I wonder, is there a link with between animations and video games? I mean, animation as a cinematographic for feature film, like the Unreal Engine or things like that. I heard it's more and more used in film. So, is there any link, like in your team or something, with this kind of technique that comes from video games?
Yes, there are, but I think if you ask that, I think we are in this minute in a new era of filmmaking, and because of the AI. And I think AI will change the animation forever, and I think it will change art forever. And we don't know how. I think we talk about it a lot, like because first we were really afraid of. I think it will wipe out a lot of animation process. I mean, we won't need people for that. But at the same time, because we are coming from a more underground filmmaking, we are thinking about how it can help us. You know, maybe in some stage it can help us, and then why don't use it? But I think in generally, I think first it will change everything in animation. It will change maybe the perception of the audience, because people will go and watch films which are very not AI-made films. So maybe it will bring back very traditional techniques. But at the same time, it can, it can help us. And I think video games will be the same. Like the whole visual culture will merge under the AI, the hands of the AI.
But
you were talking about AI, how it changed the industry forever. What would you mean? What would it change for you as a director?
Change what?
What would it change for you? Would you ever use the AI yourself?
Yes, if you can produce something which is which helps us.
Would it make it probably your life a little easier on the little things?
Yeah.
Like what? Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe animating something. I'm not talking about writing like.
And design.
Designing, but maybe some process in animation.
The most time consuming process. So maybe it can help to work more quicker. I don't know. We don't know what are these possibilities yet. So we don't know so much about these things, but of course, we are reading about everything we can find on the net. How is it evolving? So maybe I think for us the most important thing, how can it make the process, I don't know, easier or shorter? So how can help us to work a little bit more freely?
I mean, in the underground animation, you know, because we are coming from we started making films in 1999, around 2000, and I remember at the time animation was really hard to produce. You know, there were no computer softwares, and it was really elitist thing. So we saw the change where, you know, a couple of years later, somebody in his bedroom or her bedroom could produce animation film. I think that was just as revolutionary and also frightening as AI now. I know it's very frightening, and I know it will fuck up art completely, but maybe we are in the time where it has to be fucked up, you know? It has to change everything, and maybe it's the end of humanity, and maybe it's the end of the world, but maybe, you know, like, I don't know, when photography came, the painters felt the same. You know, that now photography will be the end of humanity or the end of painting, and it wasn't. So we have to use it somehow.
And it was the same with when digital photography appeared in the early 2000s. I was studied originally fine art photography in art school. And when we were in the first years of the art school, that was the time when the school bought the first digital cameras. And when we had these aesthetic courses, there were huge fights about digital technology, that it will destroy photography. So it was the same that time in photography, this panic about the digital way to kill it, absolutely.
And Anja, what do you think about AI yourself in the industry, especially the Swiss industry, which is pretty small?
Well, AI doesn't know borders, I would say, so it will, I mean, and it's reality already. It is already taking jobs, but I have the same option, no, not option, oh, now I'm losing my words. Yeah, I think you're right. We cannot avoid AI, so we need to find a way to work with it, and it can be very interesting. But we don't know what path it will take us down.
But are you attached to the painting and the...
Yeah, me personally, I'm a very analog person, and this doesn't fit with AI, but still I think it offers a lot of very interesting possibilities, and it needs to be explored. And we cannot avoid it. It's there. It's here.
And how, like, do you know if in schools they like in animation school, do they teach new students to work with AI?
No, but they don't have to, because I think the teachers probably know less about AI than the students. I think, you know, by the time they go to, I think, animation university, you know, they know much better about these things. And
I can tell it from Lucerne, from the university there, students are already using AI for a pre-visualization of projects, or even to, I mean, yeah, this pre-visualization was for a puppet animation, so they already used it to see how they can build up the set and so on, and it's very smart.
And but then they use real puppets.
Yes. Yes. But I think the challenge is to add something personal there and something unique, so it's not just everything the same. If audience cares, I don't know, but we do as artists.
Yeah, that's a big question because now like musicians talk about like AI written songs. But what if the audience like it? and when is the time? When will we reach the time when the audience won't care about whether it's AI or human? I mean, that's a sci-fi already. Also, I think it should be the least concern what's happening AI in the art, because what's happening with AI in the military or what's happening in AI with much more on a I don't say serious levels because art is very serious. I think that's a bigger concern. So it's not like whether we can produce a Wes Anderson-like film in every 10 minutes.
Yes, there is one question there.
You said that the process was very slow and the writing was the most important part at the beginning, but I have a question. Have you wanted to make some changes when it was kind of too late because you already shot the scenes? And if you wanted, how did you manage to maybe change or not change?
Because animation is a long process. So after we wrote the script, we made an animatic. It's like a moving storyboard. And after, we just have these sketchy drawings about the scenes. And after that, we did the live action shooting. At that point, when we had this material, we cut edited the film, just like a live action feature film. And at that time, we could try many things and during the editing process. And after we could change small things in the script, and we did some extra days of shooting. So in a way, yes, we had a kind of little freedom in the process. But after when we finished the film, yes, it's another story, no? What we think about the film when it's over.
Yeah. Also, what was difficult that in 7 years ago when we started the dystopian movie, it was the end of the world felt more distant, and then when we produced the film over the years, and especially the COVID came, we kind of, it was more and more stressing, like who will watch this film, because it now it's in the everyday news. And cynically, I could say that when COVID came, like we saw that everybody started to watch Contagion and everybody started to read The Plague from Camus. So there is a kind of masochism to see and read about some kind of ending. But it was a very, very strange to see what time was, or how different the world was in 2015.
Can I ask a question as well? How do you make sure that the sci-fi does not get old, or can you make sure?
No, you just hope. Yeah, I mean, the word came closer to our film, and it was very, very distressing. And actually, what was even more strange in a way, that some of the image we have a moment in our film when they go into a deserted town, which looks like there were fires and kind of something there, we don't know, and visually, because it's in Eastern Europe, it started to resemble the images which came from the Ukrainian war, and that was really something very, very disturbing. That how the real history changed, perception of the film and some images in the film, but you don't know whether when you finish the film, it's yeah.
But the film also brings poetry about those imageries. It's very poetic, so I think it maybe might help people to feel better. Yeah.
Maybe.
Is there another question in the audience? No? Well, I think if you haven't anything else to add, I think we will thank you for being here today with us this morning. And what can we wish you to make more movies? Well, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.